Not becoming a champion marathoner like Eliud Kipchoge. Please like, dislike, subscribe and/or comment in that order. Thanks. So a while ago, I decided to try and get a six-pack. In the process, I started walking around a park near my house. Then, I started running and walking around it, and eventually I was running around it about 4 miles a day, 3 times a week. After some time, I got it into my head that maybe I could start to run and perhaps at some point win 5Ks, 10Ks, etc. The problem was that though I was running more and eating the necessary amount of calories to stay healthy, I was not getting any faster and running wasn't getting any easier. Around that time, my mom tricked me into running a 5K alone, and to my dismay, I couldn't even come close to any of the winners in my age category. Of course, there were things like getting a good position before the throng of people started running that I didn't consider, but the people in my group were much, much faster than I thought was even likely. Now that I look back, a big part of the problem probably was I wasn't getting enough sleep. I just saw a video recently by Matthew Walker, a neuroscientist, that really showed me that I've been treating myself horribly for a long time by not getting enough sleep. But aside from that though, what really made me give up on trying to win long distance races was the cost. A few days ago, Eliud Kipchoge, a Kenyan, became the first person to ever run a marathon in under 2 hours. He ran every step, but because of a pace car, cyclists handing him water, and the fact that the entire event was specifically staged just for him to try to achieve this goal, the feat isn't recognized as a world record by the international body. That doesn't seem fair, but I doubt that anyone will forget his achievement. When you look at Eliud, he's the typical marathon runner, thin as a rake, which is probably healthy, or not, depending on if you use body mass index figures as a guide. But overall, the physique of marathon winners is not particularly appealing to the eye, at least my eye. When I initially started thinking about running long distances though, I didn't realize that being thin as a rake was actually a job requirement for being a champion long distance runner. It all comes down to being able to move more efficiently and faster the less mass you have. That's why most birds, especially the ones that fly, have thin, hollow bones. It's all well and good to be strong, but whether you're a plane or a pigeon, it's better to be light. And when it comes to long distance running, the same applies. Let's say Eliud and I are in a marathon and we just happen to have the same lung capacity, just for the sake of argument. The oxygen that we breathe in goes to keeping us alive and to our muscles to propel us forward. Eliud is likely to be a lot thinner than me, so he benefits from that in 2 ways. 1, he doesn't have to waste energy keeping my extra mass alive while he's running, and 2, he doesn't need to spend energy carrying that extra mass 26.2 miles. And therein is the cost to me to become a champion long-distance runner. I would have to forget about looks and whittle down my body so I don't have to maintain or drag around parts that aren't going to help me run faster. When I realized that, I decided that that was a bit too high a price for me to pay. It might be considered vain, but I like how I look these days. I specifically do pull-ups and push-ups to enhance my arms and upper body, but those parts would only hinder me in a marathon. As I did a little more research for this piece, I'm realizing that whereas I thought that I was doing a lot in running 12 miles a week, it really was not that much at all. When I would run, I would see people out there running much faster and far more regularly than me. One guy that I spoke to said he ran every morning and evening. Eliud Kipchoge apparently ran more than 140 miles a week preparing for his momentous run, and even that is not exceptional. Apparently other people do similar distances and more in order to be champion runners. Of course they take longer than he does, or they would be beating him. Realizing this, I think that I made the right choice in giving up on the long distance running goal. I don't mind making crazy sacrifices, but probably not for long distance running success, and not at the expense of my physique. To be fully transparent, in writing this piece I've run into a bit of a problem. When I use the weight and height I found online for Eliud Kipchoge, 167 centimeters and 57 kilograms, my body mass index, 21.5, seems to be just a little bit bigger than Eliud's 20.4. In fact, I would have thought his BMI would be much less, perhaps into the unhealthy range, quote unquote. To look at the two of us, though, to my eyes, it looks like a stark difference in size that seems to contradict what I would have expected. What seems to be the case is that Eliud Kipchoge and I might have similar BMI numbers, but the actual numbers might be masking some important differences. For one thing, I definitely don't have a marathon runner's upper body. That said, though, I certainly have a higher body fat percentage and more than likely less leg muscles. So if one swaps out my upper body and body fat and swaps in some extra muscle mass, the height to body mass ratio can stay very similar and explain why the average marathon champion would have a higher BMI than I would have expected. But what about a professional marathoner's relatively diminutive upper body and arms? The features that I don't want to end up with. How does one manage day-to-day life like that? Does one get a permanent pass from all the manly duties that almost all women everywhere, of every age and disposition, expect of us? Lifting suitcases, machinery, furniture, groceries, are all of these off of their to-do list with a simple, "You know I can't afford to bulk up, honey. It'll cost me the marathon next week." Do husbands, wives, and family members of marathon runners have proportionally higher upper body strength because they have to take up tasks than a marathoner might actually otherwise have to do? It kind of seemed like that might be the case when Eliud Kipchoge's wife ran up to him after his world-renowned feat. I have to say world-renowned, of course, because it is an unofficial record. But when she ran up and grabbed him, I was a little afraid she might break him. Hey, Earthling here. Please like, dislike, subscribe, and or comment in that order. Thanks. Peace.